Greetings and salutations, world. I am the Bearded Con Man, and welcome to my full review of The Defenders. Now, just as a forewarning, this entire first half of the video will be completely spoiler-free, and when I get into the spoiler section, I will be sure to let you guys know. Just as a quick recap, The Defenders is the culmination of 4 shows and 4 heroes from those respective shows. Matt Murdock, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Danny Rand, Iron Man. These are events that have been leading up throughout each of the show's series, the first seasons for the 3 shows and 2 seasons for Daredevil respectively. But it's all the culmination of one cohesive storyline, which is the impending threat of the villainous Hand. This show is the Hand's endgame. This is everything they've been working towards for all of these years, all of these centuries. This group of ragtag heroes have to band together to stop this threat that is the Hand. So that is the premise of this show. Now, as for my non-spoiler thoughts on the series, I thought it was a mixed bag, but mostly positive, if that makes sense. There are a lot of exciting elements in this show. There are a lot of really cool scenes, a lot of interactions that we've been waiting for, and in that respect, that stuff pays off. This show plays out like a summer movie, but there's 8 hours worth of story and episodes to watch. Or just under. I believe they clock in about 45 minutes each episode. So in that respect, it's a lot of fun to watch. These are heroes that have powers, but they have real life problems and consequences as well. These are the street level heroes of the Marvel Universe. Having a street level team of Avengers, more or less, to come together for New York is really cool to see. That's about all I can say as far as the non-spoiler side. So if I had to rate it from a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a solid 6.5 or a 7 overall. There are really, really strong episodes and moments in here. However, without getting into spoilers, there were some things that were a major letdown as well. And that really did bum me out. I had high expectations for this show, especially from what we have seen, building up in the shows, most specifically Daredevil Season 2 and Iron Fist Season 1. The stakes were set really high, and so were the expectations, and unfortunately, in some of those aspects that I can't get into without getting into spoiler territory, they fell flat for me, and it really hurt the show overall as a result. Alright, from here on in, it is nothing but spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you have not seen this show in its full entirety, if you've only seen 1 episode, turn back now, turn this video off, go finish the show, and then come back for the second half. We are going forward with spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Alright, full spoilers, full disclosure on The Defenders, let's get right into it. So when The Defenders actually begins, it almost operates like an epilogue. The first episode operates as an epilogue of sorts for each respective show's season finale. It did a really good job in tying up all the loose ends and setting up the groundwork for where our heroes are today. For Daredevil, we find out that Matt Murdock is retired from being Daredevil after the events of Season 2. He's just solely focusing on his lawyering pro bono work, fighting the good fight in the courtroom. And that's really cool to see. As far as him and Karen go, we find out that they have a mutual respect for one another and they're trying to figure things out. But it's good to see that Karen hasn't denounced Matt after that grand reveal in Season 2 when he holds the mask out to her and tells her that he's Daredevil. As far as Luke Cage goes, our boy is finally out of jail and he immediately gets that long-awaited coffee with Claire. His coffee game is strong. On a more serious note, I love the character development with Luke. We are finally at a point where he has fully embraced his powers and he is ready to do the right thing no matter the consequence. That is the Luke Cage I have been waiting for. And that was my biggest complaint in the actual series of Luke Cage, is when he went from, oh, I'm gonna bust into this drug den, knock out all these guys and take this out, and then the very next minute I'm gonna say, I don't like my powers. You know what I mean? That struggle was a struggle for me to keep up with. So I'm glad to finally see that we are getting a Luke Cage who is fully embracing who he is, and he's going to use it for good. That was a great way to pick up his story arc after the end of season 1. Jessica Jones being Jessica Jones, I love seeing that she is still reeling from the events of her series, ultimately having her final battle with Kilgrave, which I'm going on record and saying he's not dead. I think that he pulled one over on Jessica and he's still alive, and that's beside the point. That's another discussion for another day. However, Jessica is really struggling with what happened in her show and the events preceding her actually killing Kilgrave. She hasn't taken any cases, she's drinking more than usual, she's a lot more gruffer than she was in season 1. She kind of is in this strange place where it's like, where do you go from here? You finally beat your demons in a certain extent, but are they really gone? So I really like the place where we find Jessica when she comes into the story and ultimately picks up her case that brings her together with her other members of the team and also gives her the growth that she needs to get back into Alias investigations and her PI work. The biggest surprise for me was Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist. Like most people, I was very disappointed with the actual Iron Fist show. There just was a lot of stuff that fell flat, and I'm sorry, but Iron Fist was more, I don't know, he seemed more powerful and impressive in the opening credits than he ever was in the show. And just like with Luke Cage, with his emotions being all over the place, it was hard to keep up with what type of Iron Fist Danny Rand are we dealing with here. So this show did a great job in making me not only like Danny Rand more, but in a lot of ways giving him the character development that he needs. We still have a long way to go as far as the action goes, but it was a strong improvement, and I like Danny Rand much more during and after the events of the Defenders than I actually did in his actual show, Iron Fist Season 1. I like Finn Jones a lot more as Danny Rand, Iron Fist in the Defenders, and it gives me hope that we might get a better show in Season 2 when that finally rolls around. I'm finally cautiously optimistic that we're getting to that place. To that point, Danny is at the center of this story, and I feel like you could, and this is either a good or a bad thing, you could only watch Daredevil Season 1, more actually Season 2 and Iron Fist Season 1, and get all the story and plot you need for what the Defenders' overall arcing storyline is. I feel like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were just kind of thrown into the mix. Now granted, they got the connections in the Defenders that would bring them into the fold with the fight against the Hand, but up to this point, they've had nothing to do with that part of the world. It was a really good job in not just being like, boom, here's all of them all together. Hey, I'm Matt Murdock. Hey, I'm Danny Rand. Hey, I'm Luke Cage. Hey, I'm Jessica Jones. It was a very slow burn in converging them all together, and it was such a great payoff when you get all 4 of those heroes into a room fighting together. So in that regard, they did a great job, and it actually was the best scene in the entire show in my personal opinion, and that was the office fight when Danny Rand and Luke Cage first fight together side by side, and you get that little taste of what it would be like for there to be either a Heroes for Hire show or some sort of team up with them in the future. Mike Colter and Danny Rand as Luke Cage and Iron Fist, they have a great chemistry together, and I can't tell you how happy that made me for the future of those two characters and their heroic roles. But the scene that I'm talking about, which was the ultimate highlight, is the office brawl, where Daredevil comes running in with Jessica Jones, and they all team up to take down the Hand and ultimately get away from Elektra. Oh man, that was so well done, and it made me so excited. It was fantastically well done. These shows thrive in having hallway brawls. From Daredevil, Luke Cage, just so well done, so well done. That was my absolute favorite point of this series. And I have to admit, I will pull up that particular episode and watch just that scene because it's so freaking well done. So that's pretty much it for my pros side of the list. Just the character development, the interaction, the slow burn and bringing them together. All of that, as well as the action sequence when they first come together, those were my favorite parts of the Defenders. And that's pretty much the culmination of my pros side of the list for this show. Now, let's get into the cons. No pun intended because of my name. The Hand was so disappointing in this show. The way this was being built up, all the way from season 1 of Daredevil and especially season 2, as well as Iron Fist season 1, was that the Hand has been building towards something in New York. Stick called it a war. He also called it, the ultimate battle against the darkness between the Chase and the Hand. It's been built up to be this huge thing, and we saw what the Hand was capable of definitely in season 2 of Daredevil. They were terrifying, they were menacing, they came out in numbers. The Hand Ninja are a huge threat. Unfortunately, for some reason, that did not carry over into the Defenders. I felt like the Hand was not scary at all. I mean, where were all the Hand Ninja, for that matter? Except for one scene with Elektra, I cannot recall any time or any other moment where the Hand were actual ninja. Terrifying, come out of the shadows, no sound, Daredevil being barely able to pick up on actually hearing or seeing them with his super senses. All of that was missing in this. And I'm trying to figure out why the Hand was reduced to 5 figureheads that do a lot of talking, and what boils down to pretty much just thugs going up against the Defenders. I feel like I'm missing something there. I'm hoping I am. Otherwise, that was a major disappointment. The Hand did not have that menacing villain, like ultimate in the dark, scary feel like they did in season 2 of Daredevil. So if I'm missing something there, guys, feel free to let me know in the comment section below because it was a major letdown for me. Alexandra, let's talk about her. Sigourney Weaver's character, which that was really, really exciting casting when that was first announced. She was built up to be this huge villain that was going to have this grand payoff. They pulled a freaking cottonmouth Luke Cage on us with her by having Elektra kill her, and Elektra becoming the true villain of the show. I mean, really? I was so disappointed and stunned by that, and it wasn't a good shock. It was a, what did you just do? That to me was very disappointing and was a disservice to this grand build-up with Sigourney Weaver as the freaking villain. Speaking of Elektra, was anyone else confused on what her actual role was as the Black Sky? It was made as this grand, terrifying threat to the point where Stick was willing to kill a child in Daredevil for being the embodiment of the Black Sky. What? Am I missing something? Because it felt like all Elektra was just an evil, brainwashed version of herself. She didn't have any superpowers, or was the bringer of shadows or darkness. I can't remember exactly how it was described. I felt that that's what we were going to get with Elektra. Is Elektra was going to come back, she was going to be completely evil, and she was going to have these superpowers that would cause the end of New York. But it's just an evil, brainwashed Elektra. That's all it is. There's nothing special about her. This grand build-up of the Black Sky and the Chase having to stop the Hand from getting their hands on the Black Sky, there was nothing there. It was a ruse. I was very disappointed by that as well. I really don't like Bakuto. He is not menacing, he is not villainous, he is a joke in my opinion, and all he does is annoy me. He annoyed me in Iron Fist, and Daredevil was no exception. And I don't mean any offense to the actor, it's just that character Bakuto, he wasn't convincing, he wasn't threatening, and I didn't like him. Didn't like him at all. Didn't like that he came back. And I hated what they did to Stick. They killed my dude Stick, and he didn't even get the proper on-screen send-off and mourning for that character. It's just like, oh, Elektra impales him, he's dead. We're just gonna show a quick shot of him in the next episode being impaled with blood everywhere, and a flashback that makes no sense. Now, whether or not Stick is gone for good, that remains to be seen, but I hated that. The show took a weird turn after that, and it wasn't for the better. And finally, my biggest gripe of the series, the Hand's plan. The way this has been built up ever since Daredevil is that the Hand is building towards something. It's going to be a war for New York. It's going to be a battle for New York's soul. It's going to be this thing where if the Chased or whoever is on Stick's side does not stand up to stop the Hand, then New York will literally fall. It made it seem like they were going to release this unholy darkness or evil upon the world. Something that I thought was going to happen when Danny Rand as the Iron Fist was the key to opening the door. I thought behind that door was this grand darkness, or even the beast of the Hand. Now, when the wall finally came down and we saw that skeletal dragon, I thought, oh man, they're going to unleash Bing Bang Boom, which is a major, he's an awesome character from the Marvel Universe. It pretty much boils down to, he's a big evil dragon. I thought that's what we were building towards. This Bing Bang Boom has been sealed underneath New York for all this time, and the Hand was going to get him out and use him to take down New York and conquer the world. I thought once we saw the skeleton of the dragon, that's what we were building towards. But that's not what happened. All of this, all these centuries of work and everything the Hand has been building towards, was to get freaking bone marrow from a dragon to gain immortality because they ran out of their immortality juice that they stole from Kun Lun? What? That's it? That's it? Really? And the side effect of them excavating the dragon bones, as Madame Gao said, was that New York would fall down and implode one day? I thought it was going to be this huge thing, and they went the Mandarin route in Iron Man 3 on me. And that's it. I mean, the way it was left off, the Hand are done. And at this point, I'm okay with that, because if that's how you're going to culminate this evil organization that has stood the test of time, that Stick has literally dedicated his whole life in fighting against, and it's just for dragon bones, that was really, really disappointing. Alright, I've dwelled on the bad long enough. Let's talk a couple of really cool Easter eggs. First one being, as you guys know, Stan Lee makes a cameo at some point or another within virtually every Marvel property. If you look closely in, I think it was episode 3, where Matt is actually following Jessica. There's a poster on a wall. It's a quick blink and you miss moment where you see Stan Lee reprise his role as the face of the NYPD in the Marvel Universe TV series. And lastly, the big piece was the death of Daredevil. I knew for a fact they were not going to kill him off. There was no way. There was no way. I knew for a fact they weren't going to kill him. So when we get the reveal that he's alive and he's in some sort of convent, and then that line where one of the nuns actually says, "Get Maggie, he's awake." Oh my gosh, guys, that's a huge game changer. If you're at all familiar with Daredevil, Maggie is Margaret, and Sister Margaret is the mother of Matthew Murdock, which means if they're going where I think they're going, we are getting an adaptation of the Born Again storyline. I love what they did with Daredevil, and I love where they left him, but the world thinking that he's dead and introducing his mother into the picture. I cannot wait for season 3. Final thoughts for the Defenders. They did a great job in character development and bringing them together, but as far as the actual storylines go, it just continued to fall like a house of cards as each episode progressed. So that was a major bummer for me. But where they are leaving Daredevil off, as well as each respective character, Matt telling Iron Fist to protect his city, Luke Cage convinced that he's going to do good in Harlem, Jessica Jones getting back into the investigation. The show did a great job in actually getting me excited for the events going forward in each character's respective show. So in that regard, it was done very well. But out of all of them, I cannot wait for season 3 of Daredevil. What were your thoughts actually on the Defenders? Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with some of my views? Was there something that I missed? Let me know in the comments section below. Guys, most importantly, thank you so much for watching and listening to this Bearded Con Man ramble and give his full disclosure on the Defenders. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video and subscribe today. I am the Bearded Con Man. Thank you again so much for watching, guys. And remember, Beard, be exceptional and rad, dudes. We'll see you next time.